Technicolor with David Pearce, which deals with the first 20 years of Technicolor, so to speak. I'm also a curator of a new exhibition on Technicolor, which has just opened at George Eastman House in Rochester, New York. And also the curator of a new website called Technicolor 100, eastman.org/Technicolor, which presents Technicolor's full 100-year history through artifacts from the Technicolor corporate archive at George Eastman House. Okay, sorry. So the story of the African Queen's production has been recounted many times. Shot largely in the Congo and Uganda, hundreds of miles from most civilization, the cast and crew suffered in many ways to get the film made. Based on C.S. Forester's 1935 novel of the same name, the story rights were originally purchased by Columbia Pictures, who planned to star Charles Laughton and his wife Elsa Lanchester. When this didn't get made, the property was sold to Warner Brothers, and they intended to star Betty Davis and David Niven as the leads. Eventually, though, the film rights were bought by Austrian-born producer Sam Spiegel, whose resume later included Oscar-winning films On the Waterfront, The Bridge on the River Kwai, and Lawrence of Arabia. The African Queen was financed by the British company Romulus Films. Katharine Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart were hired to play the lead characters, Rose Sayer and Charlie Allnut. And Bogart's character was changed from being English in the novel to Canadian in the film to explain his accent. Set in German East Africa, soon after the outbreak of the First World War, the story is largely set on Bogart's raggedy boat, the African Queen, as the pair travel down the river with the aim of sinking a German gunboat. Filming in Africa in such remote locations was rare at this time, and was especially rare in colour, and was even rarer, having Hollywood stars there. The Technicolor adventure King Solomon's Mines had shot location footage in Africa a year earlier, but the actors Stuart Granger and Deborah Carr remained in Hollywood to film all the dramatic scenes. And although Solomon was released in Technicolor, its location footage was actually shot using a special monopack film, which was just a single strip of film instead of Technicolor's 3 strips, which could be used in normal, lighter black and white cameras. The African Queen, on the other hand, was shot entirely using one of Technicolor's bulky 3-strip cameras, which weighed 70 kilograms on its own, and over 200 kilograms when encased in a soundproofing box called the Blimp. 2 boats were used during filming, one complete one for long shots, and another one that was floated on a big raft for filming closer shots and dialogue scenes. This one had removable sections so the camera could be moved into place more easily. Apparently the crew had to huddle on the opposite side of the raft as the camera, because the camera was so heavy that they had to keep the boat balanced and afloat. The Oscar-winning colour cinematographer Jack Cardiff had a small crew and limited equipment. He took with him just 2 small lamps to help fill in the heavy shadows that were caused by the bright African sun. These lights and other equipment required a hefty generator, though, which was floated on a separate raft behind the main filming boat. And trailing at the end of this flotilla was Katharine Hepburn's dressing room, which was described by Jack Cardiff as a mysterious-looking windowless house made of bamboo and palm leaves floated on canoes. The cast and crew had to put up with unbearable heat and humidity, as well as snakes, scorpions, crocodiles, mosquitoes, huge black ants, and tsetse flies. Everyone but Humphrey Bogart and director John Huston got sick during production. According to Cardiff, the filter in the water purifier stopped working, so everyone ended up actually drinking the unfiltered river water. And Bogey and Huston weren't affected because they only drank whiskey. Director John Huston went on to make several more notable films in Technicolor, including Moulin Rouge, which used a colour palette inspired by its subject, Toulouse-Lautrec, and Moby Dick in 1956, which was actually shot on Eastman colour, rival process, but was printed using Technicolor's superior dye transfer process. For this latter film, Huston wanted a washed-out look with strong black outlines, kind of very different from the normal Technicolor look, which was inspired by old book illustrations. Technicolor's lab in Britain developed a special 4-colour matrix system for the film, consisting of the usual cyan, yellow and magenta dyes, plus an extra pass with a black dye. This was a unique look which was not possible to create with other colour processes at the time. The print of the African Queen you're about to see today is a rare dye transfer print from George Eastmanhouse. It's a reissue print from the 1960s, but should still give a faithful, accurate representation of how this film looked upon its original release. And if any of you were here on Sunday, we showed a new digital restoration of this film. It would be interesting to compare this print using the dye transfer process with that. So enjoy the film.